Mario Kart World is finally in my hands, and I cannot put it down. Please help. This game blew away my already high expectations. The world map is really immersive and makes free roam so addicting. You got a small but very strong selection of new courses, and fully remastered ones that are mostly great, but that's for another time. The character roster is delightfully weird. Knockout Tour is super intense and such a riot with friends. Battle mode, also for another time. I do have more gripes with this game than I thought, but as a whole package, it is an incredibly fun and addicting game. But if this game's gonna take over my life, I might as well be productive and make some videos on it. A course ranking is the first to come to mind, but I think it's too soon for that. Maybe give it a few months where I'm more familiar with them. So instead I want to talk about something I was really excited to see come back: character costumes. If there is anything I want to get carried over from Mario Kart Tour, it's definitely the alternate costumes. And not only do we have that here, but most of these are actually original costumes for this game. There is so much creativity displayed here, all bunched together in the worst menu known to man, in which you can sort into the second worst menu known to man. So I figured since I reviewed every costume in Tour way back when, it's an old video, I would not recommend it, why don't I do the same for World? Figured it would be a relatively easy task, until I found out that there's 103 of them. Goddamn. So we'll be going at a lightning round pace. We'll be reviewing every costume by category and give them a rating from 1 to 10. But since they really cooked with the costume design here, most of these will probably be on the higher end, so we'll also be doing decimal points for variety's sake. We've got a long ass list ahead of us, so no more preamble. Let's begin with our first category, the touring costumes. This is where the Mario cast slips out of their trademark, more professional attire and into something more casual, like when celebrities want to go to the Apple Store without getting attention. And I really love these, makes them feel more like people and less like video game icons. We'll start with Mario, of course. For what's essentially the default costume, this is a pretty nice fit. With the red-orange vest and the blue highlights, he thinks he's so cool with the fingerless gloves. And he is. Though I'm not sure if the black shoes complement the rest of the fit as well, but it's not a big deal. I think I'll give this a 7. And for the record, 5 is my average, so 7 is actually a pretty good score. No IGN bullshit. But I'm afraid this pales in comparison to Luigi's touring outfit. The whole green and gray color scheme goes hard and makes for a cool looking jacket, but I think it's the goggles that really seal the deal. Luigi's well aware that you look infinitely cooler if you wear them above your head instead of over your eyes. Definitely my favorite Luigi costume in this game, he just looks really cool. That's an 8. When I saw Peach's touring outfit in the first trailer, I just knew this game was going to cook. Her whole pink theming stays intact with the bow, the jacket, and the boots, and the kneecap guards are a nice touch too. This reminds me of the whole high school varsity sort of style. A good costume. 7. Daisy's is pretty similar at a first glance, but there's some noticeable differences like the jacket being zipped up and the bow resembling flower petals, cause, you know, Daisy. I slightly prefer what Peach was going for, but this is good too. Also a 7. Next up is Yoshi, and even though you have less to work with given his less humanoid physique, I think this is up there with Luigi. He looks great. He's got a whole banana boat lotion color scheme going on here. Once again, the goggles are fire, and so is the jacket and the bandana. I'm thinking an 8 for this one as well. And the touring outfits only get better with Rosalina. This is just a very normal outfit, but there's something about giving it to Rosalina, this sort of mystical character who often dresses more formal and elegant, that makes such a normal fit all the more unique to her. Not to mention the outfit itself just looks hella sick. It's just a chill as hell Rosalina with sunglasses to boot. In this video you'll notice that I think sunglasses are pretty cool. I'm giving this one a 9, one of my favorites in the whole game. And now on to the baby princesses, and as much as I don't really like them at all, I hate to admit that their costumes are actually pretty solid. Baby Peach's touring fit is what you're used to at this point. The bow, the jacket, the complementary colors, all that jazz. It's a relatively cute costume, hard to hate. I'm thinking a 6 for this one. Baby Daisy's is pretty much the same as adult Daisy, just small, teeny tiny. And if I like regular Daisy's costume, I suppose I like this one too. 6. And then there's Baby Rosalina. This is my least favorite Mario Kart character, but god damn it, this is adorable. The long sleeves, the big goggles, the star zipper. Leave it to Mario Kart World to have me compliment Baby Rosalina. My honest rating is a 7.5, but don't be mistaken, I am not your friend. Our next set of costumes to review is the All-Terrain series, and I don't think these are nearly as good. They're supposed to match the vibe of the more off-road and robust races, but from the fact that they cover up so much of the character, kind of makes them lose too much resemblance when you play them in-game. But for what it's worth, Mario's is one of the better ones, mostly because it feels like a spiritual successor to Racing Mario, a costume from Mario Kart Tour I really liked, although I prefer that over this. All I can really praise is the red, white, and blue color pattern, and maybe the visors look kind of cool. I don't know, it's alright, I'm thinking 5.5. But I think Luigi gets the upper hand here as well, albeit slightly, as it's pretty much the same design, but it's green, white, and blue, and even a bit of black. This gets a 5.7. When I meant slightly, I meant slightly. Now that I think about it, he's kind of remind me of the soccer gear from Mario Strikers, but as a guy who's never played a Strikers game, that's not winning me over. Next is Donkey Kong's only costume in this game. Really. The worst part is he also only got one in tour, and that was almost 4 years after launch. And the even worse part is that his only costume in World is pretty lame. They really said just slap a bunch of red shit on him. It's not awful by any means, and the big gloves somewhat save it for me, but it tragically can't hold up to being DK's only alternate skin in this game. Giving this a 4, the lowest so far. Bowser's all-terrain gear is better, but not by much. I like them carrying over Bowser's hexagon motif, but it's greatly overshadowed by his other, far more unique costumes. 4.5. But I've saved the worst for last. All-terrain Koopa Troopa. Jesus Christ. The hat and visor is fine enough. But once you take a look at the back, what the fuck is this? It looks terrible. Is this really necessary? Is the shell already not enough protection, unless it's supposed to be protection for your protection? And what's of the ear set? What, you work in customer service? It might feel like it's too soon, but I think we found the worst costume in Mario Kart World. I'm just gonna give him this 1 and let's just move on. Next, we're taking a brief look at the Aero costumes, aka the bike suits from Mario Kart Wii and 8. I think it's neat that they made these costumes so that you can race them with any kart, but at the same time, they're now a bit dull in comparison to this game's many unique and fresh costumes. They're cool, but I don't really have any strong feelings, so we'll just rate them all in one go. I'm giving Peach, Daisy, and Rosalina all a 6.5, as they're the same design but with their respective colors and emblems. But I'm giving Pauline's a 7 because it looks cooler with the red and gold pattern and the high heels. A shame that she also only has one costume, especially when she has some amazing ones in tour, and also that it's just her biker outfit, which is kind of an obligation, but at least she was treated better than that poor ape. Let's cover a much shorter series with the two farmers, and I really like both of them. Luigi fits as a farmer so perfectly, probably because he was already wearing overalls, but the shirt patterns are a neat addition, and I love all the small touches that make it look worn out, like the patch on his jeans and the cuts on the straw hat. I also like the turnip on his ass. This works really well for me. He gets an 8. Peach's farmer outfit is missing some of the roughness I like from Luigi, and I was at first a bit puzzled as to why they didn't instead bring over Farmer Daisy from Tour. It'd be the perfect pair for Luigi, and I think there's already a lot of Peach favoritism with these costumes. Don't have much notes for her. I mean, this sure is Peach if she was a farmer, but once I saw she had a blue flower on her straw hat, I was won over. I guess it's really that easy. I like Luigi's a bit more still, but I like this one too. 7. And now we move from the farmlands to the desert, with this next group generally falling under a desert theme. First off is a costume I completely forgot was in this game, Dune Rider Mario, because it was one of the last costumes I had to unlock and it was by accident. And also it kind of blends in with his other costumes, being notably similar to Touring and Aviator. I mean, this also has a vest and fingerless gloves, but I do like how the goggles make his hair stand up like that. Dune Rider Mario is okay, and I can't really see myself playing as him that often. 5. Next is Oasis Luigi. I'm sorry, Luigi, but you really didn't pull it off here. This Arabian Nights inspired costume is wholly inappropriate for Mr. Lots of Spaghetti, and combine that with the lime green, you get a pretty unappealing outfit. For what it's worth, I do like that one trick animation of him in the meditating pose. It's not the worst, but I don't particularly like it either. That's like a 3.5. But I think this style fits Daisy far more. I like how Mario Kart World explored more of Daisy's roots. They themed the palace in Shy Guy Bazaar after her, referencing how she's the princess of Sarasaland, a very deserty kingdom. So giving her this classy, desert-themed outfit is pretty fitting, though most of the reason why I like this is just the game in general acknowledging Mario Land. The costume itself is nice though, it gets a 6.5. But then we get to Oasis Wario, and I think I only like this costume ironically. The gold clothing does reflect his greedy personality perfectly, and I like the big purple ring, but that's about all it has going for. 4.5. The next category is actually two different groups that I decided to bunch together in a sort of beach theme. Sightseeing Peach is a costume I easily confuse with Touring Peach, especially with the hair also being tied up with a pink bow, but it's a cute costume on its own. I like her pink pants. That's honestly all the notes I can muster for this one. I'll just give it a 6.5. It's neat. Next is Swimwear Daisy. I thought her design in Tour was pretty unique, but instead of just porting that over, they made a new one that just looks like an average swimsuit. Also, why is she wearing a hat? They're gonna go swimming with a hat on? It's not very practical. I'm just saying dumb shit because I don't have anything to work with here. So I'll just give this a 5 and move on to Swimwear Yoshi. Now this guy knows how to prepare for swimming. The snorkels, the flippers, the striped onesie swimsuit. I like how much of a cartoonish, stereotypical swimsuit this is. He is ready to swim, but wearing this while he's racing, it looks a little ridiculous. Even for Yoshi fans, I doubt this costume is going to be a first choice, but this is pretty hard to hate, so you know what? How about a 5? Swimwear Baby Mario? Man, these swimsuits really give me nothing to work with. The water wings are cute, and so is the snorkel. His shorts are blue. It's Baby Mario in swim shorts. What you see is what you get. 4. But just when things are getting boring, our last beach-themed costume is a very special one. If you've been around my channel for long enough, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Everyone give a standing ovation for the return of the king, Mario Sunshine Sightseeing. Okay, sure, whatever. Any newcomers who don't know, the Hawaiian shirt outfit from Mario Sunshine is my favorite design of Mario, to the point where I made him my persona, except there's a sticky note with an F on the hat, so that's how you know that's my original character. And I lost my shit when I first saw him in the game. Oh my god! Peak has returned. Although, as you can see, he got a heavy redesign. So do I think this is an upgrade or a downgrade? I do love how they committed to the casual style. He was admittedly a bit too formal for it being his chill vacation wear, but now he's got shorts, sandals, the backwards hat, and he even took off his first layer of shirt. Let it hang, I guess. I can get behind these worthwhile changes, but I still have a soft spot for the original design. It's just too iconic in my eyes. So I might still see this as the Sunshine Mario, but this is a more than worthy successor. With absolutely no bias and 100% objectivity, Mario's Sightseeing is getting a perfect 10. Adjacent to the beach costumes, we also have the vacation costumes. I do have a bit of bias for Vacation Peach, as she was the first costume I got in Tour, and it's one of my favorites of hers from Odyssey. I just like everything from the big sun hat to the pink bandana necktie. Really, all she needs is some sunglasses and it's perfect. I rated this an 8 back in Tour, but I think I'll slightly bump this up to an 8.5. Vacation Daisy is a costume you'd expect to also be from Tour, but it's actually new to this game. I barely glanced at this costume at first, but it's really growing on me. The green highlights of her heels and bracelet stand out a lot from her orange and white clothes, but in a good way where it complements it. 7.5, definitely my favorite from Daisy. Birdo never got any costumes in Tour that weren't just different colors, so I'm happy to see her get her own vacation costume here. The hat's the same as Vacation Peach, but it suits her just as well, and it goes nicely with the white dress. I also like the pattern on her bow and the comically large ring. No gripes, no complaints. This is a solid 8. And let's continue this seaside theming with the sailors. I'm not crazy for any of Koopa's outfits, but for what it's worth, I think Sailor Koopa is my favorite of his. There's something adorable about such a little guy dressing so formally, and I like how he's wearing black shoes here when the rest of the time he's wearing green. But if my best compliment I can give is his shoes, I think that's a sign I don't rate him that high. I'll give him a 6.5. Like I said, as much as I don't like the baby princesses, they have some pretty good costumes, and the sailor outfits continue this trend. If you're a fan of them, I can see these particular outfits being your main, as they suit them quite well. Baby Peach and Baby Daisy are both getting 6, as they're the same just with different colors, but I'm actually gonna give Baby Rosalina a lower score of 5.5. I get what they were going for by swapping the colors with white being less dominant, but I just slightly prefer the usual sailor pattern that the other two babies have. But how about sailors, but 100 times cooler? AKA pirates. Wario just belongs as a pirate. Pirates like gold, Wario likes gold, it's perfect. And they really hit that concept home because he is decked out in gold. Gold gloves, gold highlights, he even has a golden skull necklace. And I also like the touch of making the W emblem more piratey. Not quite worthy of a 10 in my eyes, but definitely a 9. Excellent. Amazing costume. King Boo fits an undead pirate just as well as Wario fits a living one, but I don't think I'm as much of a fan. The eye patch and hook hand are neat, I just don't really think it fits King Boo's anatomy that well, if that makes sense. Because due to his small eyes, the eye patch ends up being comically small. But I think the detail of the gems resting on his hat make up for it. Doesn't fit as well as Wario, but by itself it's a solid 8. Next, we'll be taking a stop at Place Japan, starting with Happy Mario. I've only just now noticed it's a slight redesign from the one in Tour, and I'd say it's a bit better with the whole blue and white split. The illustration on the back looks pretty sick too. Also, they covered the dogs, so thank you. I did not like seeing them out in the old design. With the improvements, I'll up Happy's score from a 7 to a 7.5. Happy Luigi has the same fit as Mario, even down to the cheap artwork on the back, except the red on the bands are now green, of course. I like Mario over Luigi in general, so just to be a dick, I'm gonna give him a 7.4. Yukata Peach, on the other hand, I think is a slight downgrade from the Tour version. She used to be primarily pink and had this heart pattern, but now the dress is white with bluish green and has this fire flower pattern. I don't know, I prefer the old Yukata design. I'd even prefer the kimono outfit, but still a pretty good design on its own, and I'm glad they kept the boo mask, so I'll give it a 7. Yoshi Matsuri thankfully won't be a victim of comparison, but even then I just think this one is okay. I like his sandals and the blue tied around his waist, but the headband doesn't quite fit the Yoshi anatomy given that it's resting on his eye things. But what redeems his costume is his trick animation where he pulls out a question block shaped bag. I thought that was cute. So because of that, I'll rate him just above average with a 5.5. Lakitu Fisherman is a costume that I really grew to appreciate once I actually played as him. I love the little spiny at the end of his fishing rod, and my favorite depictions of Lakitu is when he's just a chill guy who loves the fish. And this is a pretty refreshing take on it. It's unique, but nothing crazy. 6.5. And our next stop is Place America with the Biker Gang. Biker Yoshi is my favorite Yoshi. Do you want to guess why? I'm sure we all headcanon that this is Boshi from Mario RPG, and now he's fully decked out in the punk aesthetic. Okay, but real talk, what is the costume designer's obsession with fingerless gloves? Did Cold Steel design these? But yeah, reminds me of Boshi. End of argument. 9.
Excellent.
Biker Bowser is great too. Do you want to guess why? I like the small touch of his little hairdo, and his sunglasses are comically small, but in a charming way. Though upon further look, his clothes are pretty skin tight, aren't they? I mean, I won't give him too much shit, it must be hard getting clothes this size. I'll rate him an 8. And I think it was nice for him to let his son join his gang. I love this costume's name, Biker Jr. He has basically the same leather fit as Yoshi, but there's something about such a little guy wearing something so punk that's really cute to me. I can imagine him sitting in that sidecar that motorcycles have. This one's an 8. I've seen some people disappointed that Biker Wario is different from the one from WarioWare, but as you can see, he has a little ponytail. So how about now? They perfectly encapsulated Wario on root beer. The chip on the hat is funny, but we have even more fingerless gloves. This is really getting excessive, but I won't fault Wario for that. 7.5. Next is Biker Waluigi. You have gotta be shitting me. This one kind of blends in with some of his other outfits, one of which we'll see very soon, but I won't lie, the leather jacket paired up with the purple goes kinda hard. Also 7.5. Similarly, we have the two Road Ruffians, and Wario looks utterly ridiculous. I get the whole Mad Max approach here, and if anyone were to do it, it'd be Wario. Still, I can't take this seriously with the big-ass mohawk and the excessive spikes everywhere. I'm afraid this one's getting a 2. It's just a bit much for my liking. And it's insane to me how much better Waluigi's is. The mohawk and spikes aren't as exaggerated, and it's just a much better fit for Waluigi's lanky proportions. Even his idol jig sells the whole thing. A solid 7. Okay, whatever this next category is, it has to be one without any fingerless gloves, and I think a safe bet is a food theme. And the first one that suits this is Food Slinger Yoshi. Basically, you get to play as the wage slave from Yoshi's. I didn't really care for this one at first, but I warmed up to him once I noticed he had food crumbs on his cheek. I like to imagine he's doing the Richard Watterson technique by eating some of the food before delivery, so I do kind of like him now thanks to that funny detail. 6.5. Soft Server Yoshi is more or less the same idea, just for an ice cream stand. He's got a bit more of an appealing uniform, and the ice cream on his back is goofy looking. I think I prefer Food Slinger slightly more, so maybe a 6.2. And it doesn't help that he's greatly overshadowed by another ice cream costume, that being Soft Server Toadette. You know, maybe this game is worth $80. This costume has a lot going on, but it all comes together to create something undeniably precious. The glittery bow, the glasses, the overalls with bow tie buttons, the mushroom head being an ice cream with sprinkles. It's the most girly pop shit I've ever seen, and I mean that in the most endearing way. And it perfectly suits the environment of Sky High Sundae. Of course, they pretty much gave the Toadette. This honestly feels fan-made, and I mean that in a good way. Like an artist wanted to show off a cute Toadette design they came up with, and lots of the charm comes from how custom it feels. I think I can confidently rate this costume a 10 out of 10. It's just perfection. This is going to be a hard act to follow for Burger Bud Toad, but as you can see, they made his mushroom cap a cheeseburger, so I think he's already doing just fine. I can kind of see this being inspired by the Big Boy Burger mascot. If you want the best experience with him, play as him in a small cart, so it just looks like you're playing as a burger. I'm rating this a 7. I fuck with its silliness. Next category has somewhat of a winter theme going on. You know, I cannot but feel that Rosalina got way less costumes than she deserved. I mean, even Koopa Troopa has more than her, and one of them is this. She had some of the best designs in Tour, yet only one of them made a return in World. But with that said, I think they chose the best one to pull from that game, Aurora Rosalina. Funnily enough, this was Canada representation.
Their flag is a fucking leaf.
It's almost like they knew how much they cooked in that game because they did not change this at all. She still has the diamonds in her hair and the absolutely stunning dress themed after Aurora Borealis. And there could not have been a more fitting character to wear this. The Northern Lights is such a natural expansion from her space theming. I gave her a 10 in Tour, so I'll give her a 10 here as well. Years later, it's still absolutely goated. Shy Guy was also done a bit dirty with costumes, especially since they didn't even bring over his ninja or chef outfit, and I can't help but feel underwhelmed with Slope Styler being the replacement. The blue beanie is cool, but the jacket just being his regular red, just with the bottom half being white, is a bit lame. 4.5, not a huge fan. There's surprisingly a low amount of winter-themed outfits, and I'm just as surprised at the fact that there's all these construction worker outfits without any of the builder costumes from Mario Maker. But I won't complain because, again, it's great to see so many original designs in this game. But first on the list is Baby Mario. Glad to see we're putting them to work early. I like the detail with all the mud, and also continuing to have yellow be a part of Mario's working uniform. But other than that, all I have to say is that it's cute, but nothing more. 5. Baby Luigi also has a working uniform, and it's exactly the same as Baby Mario but green. But I rate him a bit higher because I like his trick animation where he bonks his helmet with a wrench. I don't know, it's funny. 5.2. Work Crew Koopa is another costume I forgot about. It's just your average construction outfit with the orange vest and helmet, though I do like his animation where he pulls out the wavy light sticks that those guys at the airport have. But if that's the only thing special to note, I think a 4.5 is fair. It's just meh. Work Crew Wario. Now you just know he's been in the mines for 18 hours. I like how this design goes for more of a Foreman look. It honestly makes me wish Foreman Spike was in this game. That would have been cool. All the details from the stains on his shirt to the towel around his neck really shows he's been getting shit done. Wario has been very hit or miss so far, but I'm pretty neutral on this one. 6. Let's take a look at our pals from the Pit Crew. I was surprised this never came to Tour, so it's nice to see it here. I think I like him less from the design itself and more from its history, being based on his artwork from Famicom Grand Prix. Definitely the most so retro costume in this game. The design itself is decent, so it gets a 6. And Mechanic Luigi is pretty much the exact same, but it has some green instead of red. So I guess I'll rate it a 5.9 because I like Mario more, I guess. Shy Guy still has my same gripe with him still being primarily red, but at least the white stripes make for a better design. I have an inside joke with my sister that because of the headset, he's in a Discord voice chat while racing. If that was canon, I'd give this a 10, but until it's proven, it's staying as a 5. It's okay. I'm a bigger fan of Lakitu's design. I like the perfectly Lakitu-shaped helmet, and his goggles translate perfectly into these tinted visors. And I also love the small touch of his Game Boy looking gizmo in the back. This one's a 7. Then we have our team of explorers, the first of which baffles me. At first glance, you might be excited to see Captain Toad make the roster, but then you read the name, Explorer Toad. Huh? This is a completely different guy from Captain Toad. He has a blue shirt, his headlamp is smaller, and his backpack is no longer breaking his spine. I'm sorry, but there's just no other way I can view Explorer Toad than a lesser Captain Toad. If they want to do a unique take without referencing a spin-off, I'd say that's fair, but what confuses me even more is that Explorer Toadette has the same fit from Captain Toad, so now the pair is mismatched and it really grinds my gears. I'm giving Toad a 6 because, despite all my whining, it's a perfectly fine costume, and not that much of a far cry from the Captain Toad design that I like, and Toadette's Explorer outfit is as great as ever, so she's getting an 8, just like she did in Tour. With the baby princesses, their Explorer outfits go for more of a safari feeling. I don't know why these characters are suited to be out in the wilderness, especially since these costumes are associated with Dino Jungle, but hey, if something happens to them, I won't miss them. These are all basic, but inoffensive outfits. I think I'll just give them all a 5.5. I don't prefer any one of them over the others, and I've saved the best Explorer by far for last. Bowser Bowser Jr. I had no idea this was in the game until I first transformed into it, and I got stun-locked from how cute this is. This is adorable as hell. Just look at his shell. Look at all those Boy Scout badges he's earned. I just love the idea of Bowser Jr. not only being a Boy Scout, but genuinely being really into it. Now that I think about it, I think this game made me warm up to Bowser Jr. a lot, and most of that is thanks to this absolute gem. 9.5. The next pair to be judged is the Aviators. Aviator Mario is a fun little callback to the airplane segment from Mario Land. I've always been a fan of this one. It's just Mario in the typical old-fashioned flight suit, but I think it's really effective. I gave him an 8 back in Tour, but now that I'm doing decimal points, I think a 7.5 is more accurate. To my knowledge, Aviator Peach is a new concept to this game, and I think that's neat. Pink and brown is a pretty odd pairing of colors, but I think it works here. And the white scarf is a cool addition. Don't have much to say about her either. I think I just find the Aviator suit looking cool in general, so putting that on a character I already like is enough to win me over. Since I like Mario's just a bit more, I'm thinking 7.3. But if you want some real class, just take a look at the Aristocrats. Aristocrat Yoshi is just absolutely flexing his upper class. The gentlemanly top hat, the $1 million suit, the squeaky clean shoes, and he's purple? My favorite color? We have an inside joke for this costume as well, where this is the avatar of some commentary channel. I really hope you guys see the vision. But dumb jokes aside, this is one exquisite fit. Easy 9. King Boo thankfully isn't a victim of a stupid inside joke, so I get to genuinely appreciate the fancy coat, the twirly mustache, and how his crown goes around the top hat. I prefer Yoshi's a bit more, but King Boo is not far behind with an 8.8. But you know what's even classier? Trains, I think. And we have some Toads dressed for the job. Engineer Toad was a costume I was really excited to play as when I first saw him, because the overalls and the red bandana are adorable, and I love the detail with the smoke marks on his head. But if I had any nitpicks, I wish the hat was big enough to fit over the mushroom cap instead of just resting on it. Think of the Engineer Toad from Paper Mario. But when my one problem is admittedly not a huge deal, I think that's an indication of a solid 8 out of 10. Conductor Toadette is up there with the Aristocrats in terms of fancy levels. You know, with that bow tie and the gray uniform with gold highlights. Not much else to add here. I think the appeal is very easy to understand. A perfect blend between fancy and cute. 8.5. Now, I've been saving a specific group of costumes for last, but before that, let's quickly cover the costumes that couldn't really fit in any category. First is Cowboy Mario, and I actually like this redesign over the one in Mario Party 2. That design fitted the more cartoony depiction of the Old West, and this version is more fitting for this game's more modern Western setting. Now that I think about it, he could have maybe fit in the biker group, but oh well. I rate this a 7. Gondolier Luigi. I definitely did not look up how to pronounce that. Anyways, have you ever wondered if Luigi was Italian? It's a simple yet appealing design for Luigi, and I'd imagine if Venice ever got a city track and tour, this would definitely be the representative costume. 6.5. Runner Koopa really nails the asshole look. He totally has a vlogging channel. Hell, he even has the Kick logo on his hat. Glad they evolved from the freerunning outfit since that was just a Koopa with a hat. It's not a crazy new look for Koopa, but it's a pretty cool looking one. 7. Wicked Wasp Wario. I'm speechless. This is hands down the dumbest costume in the whole game, and I genuinely could not decide if I loved it or hated it. Part of me can't help but love the antennas ripping out of the hat and those fairy tale ass wings, but for me, so bad it's funny can only carry something so far. While my ratings on the Wario costumes have been all over the place, at least they always felt like a Wario costume. When I think Wario, I don't think bees. I remembered in one of the trailers I saw a character that looked like a bee and thought Honey Queen was returning, but it turns out it was him. I got fucking catfished. 3.5. I would rate it even lower, but it's clear that the goal was to make him stupid, and to give credit where it's due, they really knocked that out of the park. Vampire Waluigi. I love the version from Tour, but I'm a bit split on this version. It's a lot more of a gothic vampire with the pale skin and the black suit, but part of the charm from the old design was his cheaper depiction, plus the purple was a lot more highlighted. But my point when I talked about Tour's design that Waluigi fits a vampire extremely well still holds up, so it's still getting rated decently high with a 7. Then there's also Mariachi Waluigi. They had to have known, right? I don't really know what to think of this. I mean, I like the hairdo and the mask over his eyes, but something about him wearing this just feels wrong. Like somehow Waluigi's taco stand was flirting and Mariachi Waluigi is sexual harassment. I'll rate this a 6. The hairdo and the makeup are doing some hard carrying. Supercharged Bowser is a costume I thought was cool as hell, but when I was playing with one of my siblings, they thought this looked stupid as hell. And I can kinda see where they're coming from. You could see it as a bit over the top metal, even for Bowser, and I can't unsee those wrists as cheese graters. But the way I see it, it's a type of heavy metal right in Bowser's core. They really sell this whole fire theming with the exhaust pipes and that little heat dial on his shell. You might fuck with this, you might not, but I'm giving it a strong 7.5. With those out of the way, I thought it'd be fitting to end things off with the pro racers, as these outfits are to convey that they're in the big leagues. Also, this is by far the biggest group of costumes. With some exceptions, pretty much every character who has costumes has a pro racer fit, so yeah, buckle up. As always, let's begin with Mario. This applies to most of these, but I find it appealing to see these racers in some actual Formula 1 racing gear, and this is about what I expect from Mario, with red and white patterns all around. Though I notice on the back of his outfit it has the number 1 on it. Fucking narcissist. I rate a 6, pretty standard costume. With Luigi, I'm here to yet again offer the insightful analysis of this is basically Mario's but green. However, his number is 2, and that makes me feel kinda bad. That's rubbing it in at this point, so I'll give him a 6.1 out of pity. Peach, on the other hand, has a way cooler design, and the same applies to Daisy and Rosalina. This was what I meant when I said their biker outfits felt outclassed, because this is honestly just a better version of that. I prefer how these outfits are more baggy and loose, and how their crowns got translated into hats. Way more creative and fitting than just having them wear their crowns, but they're pretty unique from each other, and I actually have slightly different ratings for each of them. I think Daisy's is my least favorite, but I'm still a huge fan, especially with how her hat's on backwards. 8.5 for her. Then I like Rosalina's just slightly more because of the jacket tied around her waist is pretty sick, so she gets an 8.7, and Peach's outfit is my favorite of the 3. Hard to say why, maybe that it feels more iconic, or that the pink and white pairing is the most appealing to me. She gets an 8.9, which at that point it might as well be 9.
Excellent.
Sadly, Yoshi's is a bit of a miss. There's way too much red going on. With this helmet, you have a red cap with red visors on a red Yoshi. The blue gloves do look kinda cool, and I like how it sponsors Yoshi's, but this is one of the less good Pro Racer uniforms. 4.5. Bowser is thankfully an improvement. I love how he feels the need to put his spike bracelets over all of his professional racing attire. Other than that, the branding is neat, the colors are neat, just an overall neat costume. 6. Up next is Bowser Jr. Once again, a pretty typical racing uniform. Not much else to add except I really like his shoes, and he probably likes them too. Also a 6. Only thing I have to say about Pro Racer Koopa is that man's got a lot of sponsors. M4, whatever that is, Koopa, sponsored by himself, kinda based, and another Koopa associated with Kick. Besides all those nice details, it's once again just your average racing uniform, and it doesn't really differentiate itself enough to the default Koopa outfit. 5. Next is Toad, and oh lord. Never mind, this game isn't worth $80. In fact, I'm gonna instead buy a Steam Deck for $400. I really wish they went with something more along the lines of Pit Crew Toad, but they instead went with something much more dopey with this big-ass helmet. That might have been what they were going for, and I can see why, but I prefer when Toad's costumes are both dopey and also appealing, like Burger Butt or Engineer. I also find it lame that the helmet is just designed after their mushroom head. Like, imagine if your racing helmet was just modeled after your forehead. I can't see myself ever choosing this costume, and it's kind of an insult to Toad when everyone else's Pro Racer costumes were designed with more sincerity. This is a 2.5. Toadette was done just as dirty, just slapped an oversized helmet on her and called it a day. And it really sucks, she had such a high streak going on. Also a 2.5, I'm afraid. Then there's King Boo, and I have to give props for them doing the best they could with so little to work with. It's just King Boo with a helmet, but it's a pretty cool looking helmet, with that purple checker pattern. I can see the spooky speedster from Mario Galaxy being an inspiration. Won't deny it's the most underwhelming King Boo costume, but there's not that much that can be done here, so I'll be generous with a 5. Thank God we get to talk about a good Wario costume again. I think it's hilarious that all of his sponsors are literally him, Giga Chad Move. The typical racing suit is made a bit more unique with the choice of purple and yellow, which are signature Wario colors. 6.5. And this is a perfect racing outfit for Waluigi. I really like how he has large Waluigi symbols in the front and back, and the trick animations are just the cherry on top. This is an 8. Birdo's racing outfit goes for more accessories than an entire outfit, but I think that suits her better. I like her bow having a checker pattern to resemble the starting and finish line. Matches her vest well too. Another costume that suits her fashion perfectly. 7.5. As you'd expect, Baby Mario's uniform is essentially the same as Mario's, but smaller. Though I like the idea that he has the antenna because someone's feeding him instructions.
Testing!
Testing.
It's alright, but also kind of forgettable. 4.5. Baby Luigi is also getting a 4.5 because, say it with me guys, it's the same but green. And finally, we have to cover the baby princesses one last time. And boy, what a mediocre note to end on. Having the crown be an accessory to the helmet is unique, I suppose. I'm just not huge on it myself. And apart from that, it's just more of the same of what we've been seeing. A 4.5 for Baby Peach and Baby Daisy, and a 4.3 for Baby Rosalina, because I don't like her. And there you have it. A review of all 103 costumes in Mario Kart World. But before we end things, why don't I quickly list off my top 10 and bottom 10 costumes. My bottom 10 from least bad to absolute worst are Pro Racer Baby Peach or Baby Daisy, they're interchangeable, then Pro Racer Baby Rosalina, Oasis Wario, All Terrain Donkey Kong, Swimwear Baby Mario, Wicked Wasp Wario, Oasis Luigi, Pro Racer Toad or Toadette, also interchangeable, Road Ruffian Wario, and in last place, All Terrain Koopa Troopa. And as for the top 10, from least to most goated, we have Aristocrat King Boo, Pro Racer Peach, Pirate Wario, Aristocrat Yoshi, Biker Yoshi, Touring Rosalina, Explorer Bowser Jr., Aurora Rosalina, Soft Server Toadette, and at the very top is Sightseeing Mario. Wow, how shocking. But yeah, I'm curious which costumes are your favorites and least favorites, so go ahead and let me know. Anyways, this script kind of fried my brain from how repetitive it was, so I'm gonna relax by doing one of my favorite things in this game, which is going into free roam and roleplaying as a law-abiding citizen, like stopping at red lights and shit. You should try it, it's fun.